Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to make this really cute library card pocket. And you could use this by itself as a card. You could attach this to the front of a standard card base. Let me show you. Here's a white card base, just a standard card base, and you could attach this on here. You could use this, a real popular thing is to decorate your own journals. You could use this in the journal. You could use this on a scrapbook page. So a lot of uses for this library pocket card. And just like that. And you could use this for journaling. You could put it in a scrapbook page and maybe kind of, do something like that. So a lot of really neat things that you could do with this library pocket card. So let me show you what you're going to need to make this. But before I do that, let me talk about the library card. I just looked up on the internet, I Googled free library pocket card templates, and I picked which one I liked, and it came with 4 on a sheet, and I printed off a couple. I printed this on like a cardstock quality. And some you can see are like aged looking, then this one's the white one. So I just printed these off and cut them, and I have a stack of them. You can buy them, but you're gonna have to buy them like in 50s or 100. And I knew I'm not making that many of these, so I just wanted a few. So that's how I did it. I just looked up free template library pocket card, and that's how I got my library cards. Okay, so let's look at the pocket. Let's look at what sets I'm using, the tools I'm using, and then we'll get into the paper. So I'm using the Elegantly Said For You. That's the sentiment we're using. I'm using a lot of different sets today, so bear with me. This is a newer set, but I liked this For You. I liked the script of it, and I like the way it was written. So that's what I'm using from the sentiment. Then I'm using, that's the only stamping I'm doing. Everything else is die cutting or cutting with my paper trimmer. But the Painted Poppies, there's a corresponding die set, and then there's a second set that relates to this. It's called Peaceful Moments, and there's a coordinating die set for that. So the one that's coordinating with Painted Poppies has this tag here that I used for the sentiment. And then the one that goes with the Peaceful Moments has the actual poppy die cuts. So we're going to be using this little detail and the little solid die cuts out of this. And then I'm going to be using the detailed trio punch because we want to do the rounded corners. So that's what we're going to be using today. And let's go ahead and start putting this together. Let's talk about our cardstock. So I started with mint macaron, and or macaroon, however you want to say that. And this piece is 8.5 by 4 1/4, and we're going to do some scoring together with that. We're going to work on that together. I'm going to show you how to score it. And then for some matte pieces, I'm using the Daffodil Delight, and I have one piece that is 3 by 5 1/4, and one piece that's 3 by 2 3/4, and that's going to be this inside piece here, the matte, and this front matte. So we're going to need those, and then whatever designer series paper that you're using. This one is 2 7/8 by 5 1/8. And this is 2 7/8 by 2 5/8. So that's our papers that we're going to need. I punched the tag out of basic white. I punched the solid poppy out of the pale papaya. But let me show you, I'm going to bring this back in and try to hold it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is vellum. This detailed part is vellum, and it's glittery. We have a vellum pack that's the new in colors, the pale papaya, soft succulent, fresh freesia, polished pink, and evening evergreen. And it's vellum, but it's sparkly and glittery. So out of that, I cut the poppy detail. Let me show you a small piece of this so that you can see it. And I don't know if you'll see it in the camera, if you'll be able to see the sparkle to it, but it's got a little bit of sparkle to it. I will tell you this, when I ran this through, I ran it back and forth a couple of times to make sure that it cut all the way through. If you just run it through once, it might not cut it all the way through. So I just ran it back and forth a couple times, and that did the trick, and I was good to go. Okay, so let's do the scoring on, this is the only piece that we got to score. So let's work on scoring that together. I'm going to bring in my trimmer that has my score blade on there. And the first thing we're going to do on the short sides, on each side, we want to score it at 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to put this in here at 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going to flip it and do 1/2 inch on the other side. Just like that. And then on the long side, we're going to score it at 3 inches. Okay, just like that. And then to make the pocket, so you see that we have our score line crossed vertically or horizontally, and then we have the 2 verticals. On the long part, we're going to cut this off. So let me show you how we're going to do that. I'm just going to turn this like this, and I'm going to cut along that score line. Till I get to the score line going across. And I'm just going to go a tad bit past the score line and then cut it a wedge. Okay? And then because it's easier for me to cut on the right, I'm just going to flip it over like that. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut on that score line. And I'm going to go a little bit past that score line and then just cut at a angle. So that gives me my tabs to be able to make the pocket. Okay? And we're going to be using tear and tape today as well. So I'm going to come in with my corner rounder, and I'm going to round the top corners. So I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to round this. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with my long piece of Designer Series paper. And this Designer Series paper is from the hand-penned Designer Series paper. That's what I'm using today. You could use any Designer Series paper that you like. And I'm going to round the tops of these as well. Okay, and then we're going to round the long piece of the Daffodil Delight. Okay, so we've got all this done. I'm going to get rid of all my little pieces here, and we're ready to start assembling. Okay, so we're going to, first, let's just go ahead and attach our Designer Series paper to our Daffodil Delight mat, and I'm just going to bring in some Stampin' Seal. Just put Stampin' Seal around the top. And I'm just going to bring this in. It's just going to give us a little bit of color around the edges. And we're going to go ahead and attach this to our card base. I'm just going to put Stampin' Seal on the back of this. There, just like that. And then let's go ahead and attach our designer series paper to the Daffodil Delight mat for the front. And this isn't square, so you want to keep that in mind. Think about the way it's going to go on the front so that you get, if your designer series paper is directional, you want to make sure that it's going the right direction for the front. And I'm just going to put this on here. We're just matting this. Okay, so we got that ready. Now we've got to do our stamping and we've got to put our poppy together. So what I'm going to do for the poppy, I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. And I'm just going to use this scrap that we cut off to make sure I've got my glue started. I know I'm getting to the end of this glue, so I want to make sure I get it started good. So then I'm just going to, on the back of this vellum, I'm going to put some glue on the middle, and then I'm just going to put dots of glue around in different places along the edges. Just little dots. You don't want it to be oozing because it'll ooze out all over the place and then you'll have a gluey mess on the front of your card. So you just want to put little, it doesn't take much to hold it down. Get a little bit over there. I think that's going to hold it pretty good. Okay. And then I'm just going to hold this and press it down around the edge of my solid piece. And you do have, because we're using liquid glue, you have a few minutes if it's not exactly where you want it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to press it down and set that aside for a moment. Now we can go ahead and do our stamping. I'm just using black memento, and I want to stamp the For You over on this right hand side because we're going to have the flower. I'm going to bring this back in to show. We're going to have the flower up in this corner, so we want to stamp it over towards the right side. So I'm going to ink this up. I'm just going to stamp it right over here. There we go. And that's our items for the front. So now you need to think that this is going to fold up. So you don't want to put this matted piece down here because that would be on the inside. So this is going to be folded up like this. So if you fold it up and then just flip it like that, you'll be making sure that you're putting this on the right way. The fold part is going to be the bottom. So if your DSP is directional, you want the bottom to be the fold side and the raw edge, the cut edge, is going to be the top. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put some Stampin' Seal on this and get this put on. And then we'll be ready to create the pocket portion. Okay. And this is just going to create a little decoration on the front. Okay. Now along these two flaps that we have here, we're just going to put some tear and tape. You could use the Stampin' Seal Plus, but you want to make sure to use something that's strong, that's going to hold it. I wouldn't use just regular liquid glue. You could, but I definitely would use something that's going to hold pretty good because you don't want it coming apart. Okay, now with the tear and tape, if you've never used tear and tape, you want to just kind of press this down a little bit. That gets the sticky down on the cardstock so that you're able to peel the tape off. So then I'm just going to come in with my take your pick tool to get a little bit of the edge started. So I can pull the tape off. Just like that. We're going to fold this up. Just fold these in. And just press them up, just like that. And it's that easy to create your pocket. Your pocket's created. So then I'm just going to attach this. I did not use dimensionals. I figured there was already enough bulk on this with the pocket, so I did not use dimensionals, but you could definitely do that if you wanted to. And I'm just attaching this with the liquid glue. And I just kind of centered this on the front of my pocket. Press that down. And then we're just going to attach this. You could attach it, you can play with it a little to see what looks best to you. I liked it at a little bit of an angle. So I'm just going to put some liquid glue on the back of this. And I'm going to put this down on here like this. And then we're ready to, let me close up my liquid glue. And then we're ready to put our insert in our pocket. And there we have it. Now you could do like, you could punch a half circle up here if you wanted to, or even on there you could. I liked it fine just like this. You could add ribbon, you could add gems, whatever you wanted to do, but a really neat way to add an element to a card or a scrapbook page or a journal. Lots of different uses for it, but just a fun, different technique. So something different that we could make today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will craft again with you soon.